All right, hey VC, I'm Jamie. Welcome back. We are back with another video, and hopefully everybody's doing well out there. Back with another video thread, and this one from Shannon at Shannon Talks Music, and I'll leave a link below. And Shannon's got a great channel. She does great deep dives, a great analysis on artists and albums and music in general. Do check out her channel. So she's got a fun thread called My Favorite Album Titles, and I think this is a fun one, so I thought I'd jump on this. It's interesting when you come up. I mean, there's so many creative album titles out there that this is one of those videos. As soon as I post this, I'll think of a couple more titles I could have easily put on, but that's the fun of this. So there's so many videos out there already. She just put this out on the weekend, so there's tons of videos already. So my favorite album titles, and the idea is that if you're not looking at the album cover, because it's interesting over time how much the album cover gets just etched in our minds, etched in our memories. And so if you're maybe not familiar with the group or something like that, and you just saw the album title, like for me, would it draw you in, or does it conjure up various images? Now for the favorite album titles, I think Shannon's gone along with this idea that you're not picking an album title where it's one of the songs from the album, even though there's some great album titles, but there's so many of them have one of the songs on the album is that title. So I've tried to avoid that where I could. I don't know if it's some of these album titles that kind of get buried in the lyrics in some of the songs, but for the most part, I think these are straight album titles, and they're not featured as at least as song titles on the album. So let's get to it. Interesting. This is the one I thought of initially. Pink Floyd's Momentary Lapse of Reason, and I'm just going to be showing CDs on this. Hope that's okay. But Pink Floyd, Momentary Lapse of Reason. Considering what was going on with Pink Floyd at the time, battling with ex-member Roger Waters, and then trying to move ahead. But it's interesting that even the record company didn't care for this title. They just thought it was too long. There is an interview with David Gilmour where he talks about this, saying that the record company didn't like the title. They just thought it was too long, and saying, oh, come on, David, couldn't you come up with something simpler? And so, yeah, I just think it's a momentary lapse of reason. I just think it's a great title. And it's interesting with Pink Floyd. They do have some great titles. Now, for a live album, Delicate Sound of Thunder. I just like the image that title creates. Even if you didn't know it was a live album, just Delicate Sound of Thunder. I just kind of like that one. And only Pink Floyd could call an album Ummagumma. This is their double, it's a studio album and a live album, but to call it, what are we going to call it? Let's call it Ummagumma. Now, I've heard different pronunciations like Ummagumma, but I think it's Ummagumma. But to call the album that is just, that's either it's coming up with an interesting image, or then it's kind of like you're questioning, what is this? What is this? And again, for Pink Floyd, for their debut album, first album, they could have easily just called it Pink Floyd, but instead they went with The Piper at the Gates of Dawn. Of course, they're taken from Wind in the Willows, but what a great album title. Again, at this time, if you weren't familiar with the band, new group on the scene, The Piper at the Gates of Dawn, that's a title that's going to draw you in for sure. Okay, how about Stevie Wonder, Inner Visions? Now, there is a song on here called Visions, but for this, I've always thought that was a kind of a cool title, Stevie Wonder's Inner Visions, the ideas that it's bringing forth. Now, for Frank Zappa, you could do a lot of different albums. I'm going to go with Frank Zappa's Hot Rats. Again, if you were just coming across this, like just reading either the spine on the vinyl, the spine on the CD, wasn't familiar with the new album that was coming out, and it was called Hot Rats, you'd think, what is going on here? Now, I guess in the recent Frank Zappa Hot Rats box set, he talks about hot rats taken from the idea, or an American, I believe, saxophonist, a jazz saxophonist, and the sound that he was creating, the sound he was getting out of a saxophone was like hot rats, coming out of a sewer or something like that. So I thought, yeah, that is pretty cool. But Hot Rats, I'm going to go with that one. Always a great album title, The Beatles Revolver. What a great title. Of course, revolver, you're thinking a gun, but of course in this case it can be the revolver 33 to 3rd RPM or 45 RPM, and there's no, as I recall, as I looked at the cover again, there's no gun that is featured anywhere on here, but the idea of it could be a gun, or it could be, the revolutions per minute, 33 and a third RPM. But Revolver, what a great idea. Great album title for that one, for sure. Okay, Bruce Coburn has got a lot of interesting album titles. More often than not, they're the titles of one of the songs. But this one that features Wondering Where the Lions Are, and a great cover, but Dancing in the Dragon's Jaws. Bruce Coburn, I just like the image that conjures up. Dancing in the Dragon's Jaws. Okay, again, celebrated singer-songwriter Harry Nilsson. His debut album simply could have been called Harry Nilsson or Harry, but no, his debut album is Pandemonium's Shadow Show. So when you see a title like that, that's going to draw you in. Nilsson, Pandemonium Shadow Show. Like, fantastic. And only a band like Fleetwood Mac could call what is essentially kind of an early best of, an early collection of their music, The Pious Bird of Good Omen. Again, regardless of the cover there, but to come up with The Pious Bird of Good Omen, like what a title. I do love kind of play on words, or just kind of cheeky album titles, and the Faces were great for this. Coming up with an album title, A Nod is as Good as a Wink to a Blind Horse. I mean, come on. What a fun album title there. And last but not least, I'm going to go with Big Brother and the Holding Company, Janice Joplin. Of course, the album was called Cheap Thrills, but that was the shortened version of what they wanted to call the album, which was Sex, Dope, and Cheap Thrills. And again, so at the time, if you weren't familiar with this band, Big Brother and the Holding Company, if they had a title like Sex, Dope, and Cheap Thrills, I think that's going to just draw you right in. So Janice Joplin, Big Brother and the Holding Company, Sex, Dope, and Cheap Thrills. There you go. So that's going to do it for this. These are a few of my favorite album titles, but I know as soon as I post this, I'm going to think of a few more that I should have posted. It's just kind of one of those vinyl threads. So look forward to seeing yours, and check out Shannon Talks Music, her YouTube channel, and I'll leave a link for that. So take care. Bye-bye.